$12.47. That is your checking account balance, not your savings. You check this number at 2:15 a.m. You are hanging off the back of a garbage truck reeking of rancid rot, weaving through the back alleys of Chicago in the cold December rain. You check it again at 2:16 a.m. The number hasn't changed. You are 22 years old. You are an environmental company loader working for minimum wage. Your work gloves wore through a long time ago, and the company doesn't issue new ones. You have to go to the hardware store yourself, buy the cheapest electrical tape, and wrap it around your fingers layer by layer. Because every time you grab that rusted galvanized trash can, you risk slicing open a vein. This is what hitting absolute zero feels like. No drama, no cinematic filter, just the nauseating stench of slop and a steamroller-like exhaustion that arrives precisely every morning before dawn. You don't talk about money. In this class, nobody talks about money. Everyone just talks about how to survive the winter. At this stage, money isn't a tool. Money is your spine. Either you stand up straight or you are crushed. Rule 1 at the bottom. Your relationship with money is purely physical. The wear and tear on your flesh generates negative compound interest in a highly irreversible way. You work 14 hours a day, and you get a verbal pat on the back from the boss. Your hourly wage goes up by 50 cents. You feel a sense of financial breathing room for about an afternoon. Then, one early morning, an overloaded construction dumpster suddenly drops due to an aging crane arm. The sharp metal edge slices your forearm open. The boss doesn't want to report a workers' comp claim. He shoves $200 cash into your hand and tells you to go to the clinic yourself. Stitches and antibiotics wipe out the $600 you spent 3 whole months saving. Lying in a basement running a low-grade fever, staring at your infected wound, you learn a lesson. Unexpected disasters will always precisely inflate to swallow the meager surplus you traded your blood and sweat for. The shift, you stop treating physical labor as your only weapon, and you start weaponizing your anger into discipline. After you heal, you don't quit. You become tight-lipped. You compress your daily food budget to $3. You eat near-expired canned food. You stop joining your co-workers for cheap after-work beers. Over 2 full years, hoarding like a rat, you stash away $5,000. With this money, you quit. You find a Ford garbage truck on the verge of being scrapped in a junkyard. The hydraulic system is shot. You lie under the chassis with a wrench for 3 days and 3 nights, and you fix it yourself. You register a one-man environmental disposal company. This is the moment you decide whether you will be ruled by fear or whether you will rule the machine. You begin an inhuman routine. From 2 a.m. to noon every day, you drive this broken-down rig yourself to collect trash. At noon, you scrub the stench of decay off your body with industrial soap. You put on a cheap, slightly oversized suit scavenged from a thrift store. From 1 p.m. until dark, you are no longer a garbage man. You are a salesman. You knock on the doors of restaurants and shops, alley by alley. I'm $10 cheaper a month than your current company, and I promise to hose down your back alley. You snatch up stray contracts one by one. For the first time, your account crosses the $10,000 mark. You are 25. You've never seen 5 digits in your account. You don't spend it. You take that $10,000, put a down payment on a second used garbage truck, and hire that broke kid who used to loiter on the corner to drive it for you. Rule 2. Profits built on hourly wages are just a ceiling disguised as a floor. Once you see the ceiling, you must smash it. You have 3 trucks now, pulling in $70,000 a year. You think you're steadily climbing, but trouble comes knocking. This industry is incredibly fragmented and operates like a mob turf war, crawling with local thugs protecting their blocks. You encroached on someone else's territory, and retaliation is swift. Your truck tires are slashed in the middle of the night. Sugar is poured into the gas tanks, instantly blowing the engines. In the worst incident, your driver gets cornered in an alley by 2 goons and gets his nose broken. If you were just an average guy from the bottom, you'd buy a shotgun and go to war with them, or you'd fold and quit. But you don't. You sit in your motor oil-scented office, mapping out the collection routes of all your competitors. You don't see a mafia. You see an incredibly stupid business vulnerability. Everyone is running at a loss. 3 garbage trucks from 3 different companies passing each other on the exact same street every day, wasting 3 times the gas, labor, and vehicle depreciation just to fight over 3 adjacent dumpsters. You don't bring a gun. You bring this actuarial spreadsheet and a route map, and you walk into a local bank. You show the loan manager what absolute route monopoly looks like. You walk out with a $300,000 commercial loan. You go straight to the rival who slashed your tires tires, an aging thug on the verge of bankruptcy, still trying to act tough. You don't throw a punch. You slide a check for a full buyout across the table. You want his 5 trucks and his entire client roster. If he doesn't sell, you tell him you'll use that $300,000 to drastically underbid him and steal every single client he has left. He looks at the check, mutters a curse, and signs. The shift. You stop expanding through addition, and you start devouring the industry through systems. You swallow your first rival, and your fleet grows to 8. Because you've achieved an exclusive monopoly on that block, your fuel and labor costs instantly halve. Your profit margins triple. The bank sees your terrifying cash flow and approves a massive credit line. Over the next 14 months, you operate like a precision bulldozer. Using the exact same leverage and acquire playbook, you devour 4 struggling local waste companies. You spray paint their beat-up trucks a uniform blue. You slash overlapping routes. Your net worth crosses $1 million. You are 30. You own 35 trucks. You still work 16 hours a day, but you no longer touch the steering wheel. Rule 3. Under $5 million, you are competing with your peers. Over $5 million, you are rewriting the rules of the industry. After your rise to dominance, you descend into management hell. Drivers strike, trucks break down, EPA fines fly in like a blizzard. You discover that managing hundreds of blue-collar workers is infinitely more soul-crushing than collecting trash solo. You feel that suffocating sensation of hitting absolute zero all over again. Except this time, it's not physical labor crushing you, it's organizational chaos. You start saying no to things you used to automatically agree to. A standalone residential contract that requires you to personally wine and dine someone? No. A sporadic gig that adds profit but doesn't alter the market landscape? No. You stop your lone wolf expansion. You spend heavy capital to poach a professional COO and CFO from corporate America. You build a standardized dispatch and maintenance system. At the $5 million mark, your money develops a fierce aggression. Cleaning up an average city no longer satisfies your appetite. You set your sights on the entire nation. You realize the U.S. waste management market is just as scattered as Chicago was. You make a mad decision. You launch an epic industry roll-up. Within 5 years, you acquire 133 small waste and sanitation companies. You aren't buying trucks one by one anymore. You are buying out competitors in bulk. You take countless fragmented messes, crush them, restructure them, and forge them into a ruthless money-printing machine. At this level, your bottom-tier peers view you with deep hostility. They think you are the evil dragon of monopoly, but they don't understand. People at the bottom think competition is won by bleeding out through price cuts. People at the top end competition by establishing the standard. You are 34. It's an ordinary Tuesday, completely devoid of ceremony. You stand in a tailored, bespoke suit before the bell podium at the New York Stock Exchange. Waste Management Incorporated, the company you founded, officially goes public. Your net worth crosses $100 million. You sit quietly in a premium Wall Street boardroom for a moment. You thought you would feel different. You thought the air would smell sweet, finally free of the sour stench of garbage. But there is only a quiet sense of satisfaction, and almost instantly, it's not enough. $100 million isn't the finish line. It's just an entry ticket proving you have the capacity to consolidate the entire waste system of America. Your identity crisis isn't that you're unhappy. It's that happiness was never the goal. You are simply using the broom of capital to sweep up the cash flow of a nation. Rule 4. Wealth is not about what you've accumulated. It's about what you never have to scrub clean yourself ever again. In the $100 million world, money completely ceases to be a source of anxiety. You no longer think about your bank balance. You think about industry topography. Where is the capital deployed? What are its regulatory risks? You walk into rooms you used to only see on the news. Not rooms full of celebrities, but rooms where real decisions are made. A closed-door meeting with several governors and the head of the federal EPA to discuss the solid waste landfill standards for the nation's next decade. You sit at the table not because your suit is expensive, nor out of politeness. You are there because if they don't listen to you, half the cities in America will drown in garbage within 3 days. You control the metabolic lifeline of the country. This is a profoundly different experience of power. The shift, upon reaching $100 million, your past becomes a myth others use to mask brutality. You are in your 60s. Your net worth is in the billions. You are a myth, the only man in American business history to found Fortune 500 companies in 3 entirely different industries. You haven't touched one of those sour, yellow trash cans in 30 years. But you still think in cycles. You sit in your private jet, looking down at the city swept spotless by your fleets. This colossal machine boots up as usual every morning, devouring the waste of the city and endlessly generating compound interest for you. And today, in some dim alleyway in Florida, there is a 22-year-old kid who just opened his phone to check his banking app. His checking account balance is $12.47. He is ignoring his aching back, wrapping torn tape around his fingers, getting ready to hoist a 200-pound trash can. He thinks this is just a story about hard work and grit. He thinks if he just sweats a little more, lifts a few more bins, everything will naturally resolve itself. He doesn't yet know what actually needs to be resolved. He doesn't know how much trauma, bloodshed, game theory, and corporate acquisition he must drag himself through before that machine named Capital and Systems lets him reach the end. The machine doesn't ask if you're ready. It turns on every day, only devouring those who refuse to back down. The young man picks up his torn gloves and steps into the abyss of the stench. Everything always begins here. No matter how vast an empire you intend to build, it will forever begin exactly here. Adapted from a true historical case. H. Wayne Huizenga, starting by borrowing money for a used garbage truck and working as a garbage collector himself, he leveraged acquisitions to consolidate over 100 small waste companies, founding Waste Management Incorporated, the largest in the US. Later, applying the exact same logic, he built Blockbuster and AutoNation, becoming the only legendary billionaire in America to found 3 Fortune 500 companies.